But what I really took away from Monday Night Raw was the Uncle Howdy segment. That in itself I found very interesting. But I'll start from the top. Obviously, we saw the debut of the Wyatt Sicks on last week's episode of Monday Night Raw, which again I go back and I say it was one of the best debuts that I've seen in quite some time, especially given the production level, the production value, the way it was executed, the way it was shot. I thought it was top notch. I was a fan of it, and I look forward to seeing more aspects of this group and what they can do with it. But throughout the week, for example, on Pat McAfee's show, they had shown little hints of what appeared to be like an Uncle Howdy or Wyatt Sicks kind of takeover with the lights shutting off. At one point, Triple H was on the program and they had the phrase "you lied" pop up. So you obviously know there's some kind of intent there. And ironically enough, Pat McAfee was not present on this episode of Monday Night Raw. So don't know if that has anything to do with it. But Chad Gable, who is seemingly another target of the Wyatt Sicks, and ironically enough, look what happened. Chad Gable, a mentor, a teacher to those in the Alpha Academy, and the way he's mistreated them, the way he's basically emotionally, verbally, abused them. And that's not to say that they can ever not, that they won't reconcile. I don't know. But ironically enough, the same episode that they decided to leave him was when the Wyatt Sicks attack Chad Gable. So now he's on edge, and I love the extra presence of security around. It really makes it feel like there's something, some sort of threat around the locker room, around the arena. And you saw Chad Gable arrive, kind of covering his face from the camera. They really treated it like it was some form of paparazzi looking for a scoop or something. I think the only thing they were missing was maybe like a Kathy Kelly wanting to get questions. Obviously, they did that later outside of his locker room, but I'm talking about out in the parking area where he entered the arena. As we talk about the Wyatt Sicks, because I got off on a tangent there with Chad Gable, Abby the Witch, but she hasn't really received a name yet. But obviously, that's the connotation we take her for. She enters the ring after Chad Gable had won his qualifying triple threat match. Chases Chad Gable off. But keep in mind, the ring is now filled with smoke. The lights are out. Very similar to how they entered the arena last week. And she heads over to the announce table where she has a box that she hands to Michael Cole. We would then come to find out that the box had a VHS tape, which Michael Cole had to explain to our younger viewers what a VHS tape was, that said "Play Me." And if anybody knows of the franchise Saw, anytime you have a tape that says "Play Me," it's never a good thing. And also, I like the aspect that he had to hand it to somebody like on the production, so they can run up to Gorilla or the production truck, so they can play it for the broadcast. And what followed, I thought, was very much similar to the '97 interview from Monday Night Raw when it was Jim Ross and Mick Foley, and we really got to know the character of Mick Foley. He talked about his upbringing. He talked about the inception of the Mankind gimmick. We got to know more about the man, and we became invested in it. I didn't think off of week 2 that we were going to be introduced to Bo Dallas or Taylor Rotunda. A lot of people are saying that this was Taylor talking and not Bo because it was just so real. But to see him in the same room as Uncle Howdy, and obviously the way they did it was a split screen where you can see that Bo Dallas, or Taylor, as I mentioned, is sitting across from Uncle Howdy, and he's asking him questions. And we really got to see an emotional side of Taylor. He was asked the question by Uncle Howdy, how did it feel when your brother died? And I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, wow, like that's one of the first questions they asked him, and I did not expect that. That's a very hard-hitting question, and I feel like we got a real answer from Taylor Rotunda, from Bo Dallas, because he says that all he wanted to be was his brother. He wanted to be like his brother. He looked up to him. And then Uncle Howdy seemingly asks him that doing this, is it not a way of exploiting Bray Wyatt? Which is a fair question, and I'm glad that they are asking this question, presenting it, in front of the audience, because these are real questions that people are asking. Is this an exploitation of Bray Wyatt? People criticize the whole Rey Mysterio run in 2006 because they thought it was exploiting the death of Eddie Guerrero. So it's a valid question. I get it. I totally understand it. So for them to address it head on week 2, I think was a bold choice, but I think it probably was the smart choice. You want to get it out of the air and just address it. The segment continues, and we get, like I said, a real in-depth feel for what was going on in the mind of Taylor Rotunda / Bo Dallas. He says that people forgot them, but now we're going to make them remember. And as the segment begins to close, the camera shot changes to where it's a split screen. We have Uncle Howdy on the right, we have Bo Dallas on the left side, and the lights begin to flash, or like a filter begins to flash, and we reveal that these two are actually in the room that the Firefly Funhouse had taken place in, had been filmed in. You know, the room that Bray Wyatt spent a lot of his time in during those later years of his run in the WWE. At this point right now, like I said, the overall theme has been family. You can't choose them. But in this case, with the Wyatt Sicks, they were selected. They were saved. That's what it seems like to me. Each individual had their own family. We covered that in a previous video, the full explanation of the Wyatt Sicks. Go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. And we look at it in the sense of it's a group of these exiled misfits who have no family. They have no friends. They have no allegiances. Dexter Lumis with The Way. Nikki Cross with Sanity. Eric Rowan was one of the first members of the Wyatt family. Joe Gacy had the Schism. And Bo Dallas literally lost a member of his own family. Come together in one single unit. And granted, we only saw Abby the Witch this week. So who are we going to see next week? Maybe that's what they do. Maybe that's what they do starting next week, is one individual at a time. You don't have to see everyone at once, but to maintain that presence that we're always here. Is it something they do? I don't know. But it is something to look forward to.